It's time to get inside the Giants Huddle.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
On Giants.com.
I like it, I like it.
And the Giants mobile app.
Boom, give me some juice.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's roll.
Welcome to the Giants Huddle Podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the New York Giants. John Schmeelk with you, getting ready for the Giants and 49ers on Thursday Night Football. This is our usual day before the game podcast. We're going to have Bob Papa with head coach of the Giants, Brian Daboll. Lance Medow breaks everything down in terms of the 49ers with Cam Inman. He covers the 49ers for the San Jose Mercury News. And then we're going to lead off with my conversation with Giants rookie wide receiver Jalin Hyatt. We had a good talk, a fun chat. He had those two big deep balls that kind of got the offense going against the Cardinals in that historic comeback win for the Giants in Week 2 to get their record to 1-1. Here's my conversation with Jalin. Now we're joined by Giants rookie wide receiver Jalin Hyatt. And Jalin, I guess I'll start there. Do you still feel like a rookie 2 games into your NFL career? I'm sure you've seen and learned a lot so far.
Yeah, I definitely sometimes feel like a rookie because this is my first West Coast trip for me. Not only that, first turn around to a quick game on Thursday. So I'm still learning the the vibe around here. Just leaning on the leaders in here, but everything's been smooth so far.
We are recording this in Tempe a day after the Giants had the historic comeback against the Cardinals. What was it like experiencing that firsthand in the second half?
Yeah, I think it just shows about our passion, and it starts with the leaders in that room. DJ, just everybody who contribute. Had a big part in that game, and we all just trusted and leaned on DJ and leaned on Coach Calf, and they brought call the plays, and we just went out and executed in the second half.
What was the message that Coach Daboll gave you guys at halftime? He used the word stern, and I was wondering what it was like from a player perspective.
To be honest, I really think we just clicked in that second half, and coaches can say anything, as far as have a halftime speech, but man, we just clicked in that second half. I felt like time we went out there, we had a different juice, and it's like we forgot that we were down, and I think that was the difference for us. We started believing in ourselves, and when we did that, we executed.
Did you find that coming out of the locker room at halftime, there was a change in attitude in terms of how the team approached the game in the second half? Yeah,
definitely attitude, and not only that, I think the energy was there too. We were down, and we came, when we came back out after the second half, we were ready to go. We wanted the ball, we wanted to score time we got the ball, and I give it to DJ for trusting in me and throwing that ball, and we executed.
Was there a concerted effort made to get the ball down the field a little bit more? Is that something you guys talked about at the half to try to make some more big plays? You guys had 8 plays of 15 yards or more. All of them came in the second half of that game.
Yeah, I think, one of our things that we were focused on, in that halftime was we need more explosive plays. We weren't getting the ball downfield. The running game was kind of stuck. We couldn't get anything going. So to open those, you got to throw the, explosive plays. You got to get them down. And, when we did that, that's when everything started flowing for us. So just credit to, what we did at halftime.
Take us through those 2 plays you had. You had the 59-yarder to start, and it kind of sparked everything, and then you had the 30-yarder a little bit later on the post corner. Take us through those 2 plays and what you saw and how you got it done.
Yeah, we had it in the game plan just leading up to the game, and only that, we didn't know when we were going to throw it, call it, and we knew in the second half we were like, all right, we got to get something going, and I knew DJ was going to throw it, and at that point in my head, I'm just thinking, okay, I need to make some plays, and just to get things going, just to get the spark going, because one explosive play can change the whole momentum of the game. And I think once we did that, the whole offense started executing, and that's when we got our confidence. And once we had our confidence, we were rolling.
Was there a sense that play did kind of spark everyone on the bench?
I think it did. Just from a player's perspective, I think right after that play, we just started connecting, and the whole offense started connecting, just like how we did in training camp. So, we had a bad start to the season as far as struggling on offense, but I think with what we did this game, just to come back and how we believed in ourselves, I think that changed the whole outcome of everything. So, just proud of the team, proud of the leaders in that room, proud of the offense.
Yeah, so let's look ahead a little bit now, and you talk about making some of those big plays, Jalin. How much credit goes to the offensive line? Because they have to hold up for you to run that post corner, right? That is not a 3-step drop. That is not a quick route. They got a lot of heat in week 1. How good were they in week 2?
Yeah, I mean, I credited them, all of them. And not only that, one of my best friends on there, John Michael, rookie. I'm proud of what he has done, just being the center, proud of what he has done in training camp and lead on to what he's doing in his career. But just proud of everybody that, what they did on O-line and how did they execute it. So we just got to keep going. I think that game is, a spark for us. And now I think we kind of get a momentum. So, next game, and we just need more games and just to get more comfortable out there and just do what we know we can do.
It is a different matchup, different opponent, but how much of this can you carry over to Thursday night on a short week in San Francisco?
Yeah. I think it just goes back to, just relying on us and relying that we know what we can do. We have a good team. We have a great offense. We have a great offensive scheme. We have a great quarterback. And when you have all those factors, we can be as good as we want to be. And we just got to believe in ourselves. I think that's what we did in that second half. And we went out there and believed in ourselves, and everything started working for us.
Now, we're talking Monday. I know you haven't done a ton of work on the 49ers yet, but what is it about their defense that makes them challenging?
Yeah, defense that gets after the ball, runs sideline to sideline. They have a great D-line pressure, great linebackers. They have a long, speedy secondary, guys that's tall, big, rangy. So for us, I think we just need to just go back to the basics and do what we know we can do. Play fast with them. Don't make so many mistakes on us, and just go out there and play Giants football that we know how to play. And I think we do that, and we do everything we need to do as far as game planning and execute on that. And I think we'll be as good as we want to be and be in the right position we need to be.
Couple questions about you before we say goodbye. What do you think about the way they're using in the role they've kind of developed for you? You ran 20% of the snaps in week 2 against the Cardinals.
Yeah, Dave's told me this is the time I got drafted. He told me he was always going to, lead me up into the game plan, lead me up into the season. It's a long season, and, he told me about how, rookies just have a long year. You go from combine to pro day to boom, you're in training camp, and, you're ready to go. Not really a season off or off season really, but, I believe in what Dave's is doing. I believe in his game plan for me. I believe in everything that he has going for me personally. He's a great coach, man. I love him. I respect him, and I feel like we're just starting. We're just starting now, and the future's what we're ahead for.
For every rookie, there's a lot to learn. What's your comfort level in the offense and just being able to execute everything the coaching staff is asking of you? Yeah,
it's getting there. It's definitely getting there. I spent a lot of time in training camp just trying to get it down with DJ and see what he likes. We have a big playbook. So, at first it was a lot, but I'm just starting to get the roll for it because I play all 3 positions. I'm moving around a lot, so I'm very comfortable with it though. Very comfortable, and DJ made it easier for me. We used to work in the off season, even when everybody was off. He stayed up here and we were working out. So, just credit to him, credit to the coaches making it easier for me for the game plan. But I feel very comfortable.
Was there a moment in the summer? Obviously, you had a ton of experience in college. You showed you could run by people. You could make big plays. Was there a moment, either maybe in the scrimmage or a preseason game or even in a practice, where you're like, oh, you know what? I can run by NFL players, too. I can do this at a high level.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was I just believe in myself. My sophomore year in college, didn't believe in myself, wasn't confident, and, that changed everything for me. But once the confidence came from my junior year and I believed in myself, for me, just keeping that same mentality and just trying to work for that and just get better every day. That's the biggest thing, leading on the leaders.
All right, last 2. What have you learned the most? Where have you made the biggest jump since you arrived here with the Giants and gotten better?
Yeah, I think for me it was definitely route running. Getting off press coverage, things I didn't see in college a lot, just not used to. And, we go against wing defense 24/7 training camp, and, he loves to blitz. So it's nothing but man. And not only that, we have great corners, great rookie corners.
Physical ones too, right?
Physical, long, that's going to get after it. And we're all brothers, they help me and I help them to get better. So just a lot, I just credit this team. I think we're heading in the right direction and just can't wait to see what the future holds for us.
Yeah, quick follow-up on that. I love the way they use you on that one motion motion play against Arizona. They kind of look like they took something out of what Miami did in week number 1, where they motioned you out to the side, gave you a little bit of a running start. Are you enjoying some of the creative ways Mike Kafka is figuring out a way to maybe put you in motion to get you off some of those press situations?
Yeah, that just goes, the credit to Coach Cap and Coach Davis, just what they can just draw up. I mean, they're just smart. Man, I just love them. I love them through the draft process. I wanted the Giants to come pick me up, and everything's working. Dream come true for me. So just to be in this offense and still learning at the same time, but being with masterminds like them, man, it makes it easier for me. Just seeing all the creative plays that they can draw up, man, it's fun. It's fun to be here.
All right, final one. Give me 1 or 2 nuggets that some of these vet wide receivers on the roster have really given you that you think have helped you along as a rookie.
Yeah, just believing in myself. Just helping me with as far as confidence level on press. Just giving me different tools and different techniques to get off different corners on how they play. I think another one was just I think it's slower. The game is a little slower than how it was in college for me. So knowing that I have a little more time, in routes sometimes. So I think that's the 2 biggest things I learned so far from, vets that we have down the room, Slay, Shep, Isaiah. I look up with Paris, all of them, and they're great teachers and they help me. Appreciate it.
Jalin, good stuff, man. Best of luck on Thursday against San Francisco.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
You're ready for a change. Payday comes early with Citizens, so go to that retreat. New you moves to the country. Now you're raising goats and launching a lifestyle brand. Are you ready for all that life brings?
That's Jalin Hyatt. Great stuff out of him. The Giants Huddle is brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. From game day to every day, Citizens is made ready for Giants fans with insights, guidance, and solutions. Learn more at citizensbank.com. All right, now let's get inside the San Francisco 49ers. Lance Medow had a chance to talk with Cam Inman. He's been covering the Niners for a long time on the beat for the San Jose Mercury News.
Quick turnaround heading into Thursday Night Football as the Niners and the Giants collide for the first time since 2020 and first time in the Bay Area since 2018. And to delve into San Francisco, what to expect from them, we're now joined by Cam Inman, who covers the Niners for the San Jose Mercury News. Cam, you got Lance Medow here on Giants.com. Greatly appreciate the time. Hope all is well. How's everything on your end?
Everything's great. We've been on the road back-to-back weeks, so now it's time for the Niners home opener after a really impressive win in Pittsburgh, and then Sunday's win in LA wasn't as impressive, but the stands were all full of 49er fans, so it really felt like a 49er home game. So Thursday Night Football in Levi's Stadium. Here we go.
Absolutely. Well said. And let's start with Brock Purdy, because the big storyline coming into the season, Cam, of course, was the elbow injury he sustained against the Eagles. And everybody was wondering, would he get back in time? How would he look? The Steelers game, it didn't seem like he was hesitant at all through 2 touchdowns. This last game against the Rams, to your point, maybe they weren't as big in terms of the passing attack, but they certainly ran the ball effectively. What have been your big takeaways with respect to Brock Purdy and how he's looked and how he's commanded this offense thus far?
It's funny. I go back to a word that Sam Darnold used to describe Brock Purdy. His first impression was the kid has poise, and it really has proven the case week after week. I mean, obviously he has not lost a regular season game. This is going to be his 8th start. The only loss was in that NFC Championship to the Eagles when he had his elbow torn on the first series. But he's come back, and the arm strength has not been an issue from day one. The second he was back at training camp, he was airing out passes. And he was overthrowing guys, and we're like, "What is going on?" He's really testing it out. So so we bring you to Sunday's game in LA, and Brock had a really good opener, and everybody's like, "Okay, great." He threw for 220 yards, two first half touchdowns, and then against the Rams, the critique was that he overthrew 3 guys deep that could have been touchdowns, right? And so the key word there, a lot of people focused in on, was overthrow. And I think today it dawned on me, no, the keyword should be 3. The fact that he's taking multiple shots downfield in an offense that's known for a run-based offense that can get, short throws, and guys go yards after the catch like Debo and Ayuk and Kittle. But with Brock, it's kind of gone under the radar in the last, 3-4 months, that this guy does air it out pretty deep. He takes chances, in other words. He knows how to read a defense. And that's why he's kind of earned Shanahan's trust to use the whole playbook. It's why the teammates love him, why he's a team captain already in his 2nd year. So thoroughly impressed. It has not been a flash in the pan thing. Is that I think everybody's curious to see, well, it's just, he's just getting his feet wet. The guy has really good control of the NFL speed. And I think that's what really comes into play.
Well, and I think that's a great point, myself included. I had some of those questions because, like anything else, Cam, it's a small sample size when a guy performs as he did in the second half of the season. It was also a small sample size in terms of Christian McCaffrey working in this offense because they acquired him mid-season. So now that he has had an entire offseason under his belt, I guess how much more can Kyle Shanahan tap into his skill set from what you've seen over these first two games?
Yeah, and McCaffrey, he's the dual threat wonder, but he's been mostly used as a running back these first two games. He didn't come out of the game against the Rams, which was a little ridiculous when you have a short week coming ahead of you. But he's the NFL rushing leader right now, and he has had one big run in each of the games. He looks like the best running back they've had since Frank Gore, who was their all-time leading rusher, and they've not had a 1,000-yard rusher since Frank Gore left in 2014. He's everything you want. He is the playmaker, and it's like, yeah, so Brock can dump it to him for short passes or use him out of the slot, which could be the case this week if Brandon Ayuk's shoulder is bothering him. And then you could use Elijah Mitchell more as a running back. But McCaffrey understands the offense a lot better now, understands I got to wait one split second for that hole to open up, and then I can dart through it. And he really has done that so well through two games so far.
You brought up Brandon Ayuk nursing the shoulder injury. As we're recording this, he obviously did not take part in practice, but what do you think his chances are in terms of suiting up? And if he doesn't play, does a guy like Jawan Jennings become more of a lethal weapon within the offense?
Well, I don't want to speculate because it sounds like it's not a broken shoulder or it's not a broken collarbone or whatever. So my guess is he'll try to play through it because the Niners don't take anything for granted. Every game is just like vital to them. They've learned that over the years. So if he can, he played through the injury in LA. But in terms of Jawan Jennings is a really big physical wide receiver who loves to stir it up with opponents. He's almost as good for one personal foul against the opponent as he is for one big catch. He's a delight as a guy, and on the field he's a dog, and it's really fun to watch. But I don't think he's the big weapon. You have George Kittle, he's kind of off to a slow start in terms of catches, but he makes some key catches, and he's obviously a great blocker too, and he just loves the game of football. He's kind of their spirit animal on offense, gets everybody going. But Deebo Samuel really kind of shifted back into that multi-talented threat in LA. And so it's kind of like you go to Kittle, you got a McCaffrey, you got Deebo, and you're like, holy cow. Maybe you don't really need Ayuk. Ayuk he was off to a great start. He was the NFL Offensive Player of the Year, Player of the Week in Week 1. So he's off to a great start. It's a contract year kind of for him. So he's like the next one in line for an extension. But that's the thing with this team. There are so many offensive weapons around, and they've been in the system now long enough to understand the details and the landmarks they have to hit. And Brock Purdy knows that he can trust each and every one of those guys.
With respect to the structure of this offense, Cam, I'm applying it more to the Giants. They're coming off a miraculous comeback against the Cardinals, but they had a lot of missed tackles. James Conner was very effective on the ground. And I describe this Niners offense as slippery and elusive, right? Because yardage after the catch is such a key statistic, as you had hit on with guys like McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. From the Giants' defensive perspective, how big of a tall order and a task is that in terms of the tackling that they need to hone in on when going up against this Niners offense?
Well, it's why this offense has been known for the last 4 years for their yards after the catch. Slippery and elusive is one way to say it. I would use different words come to my mind. That's fine, but from watching this team, there's a lot of space. The guys know how to get the ball in space, right? And then they take off, and then it's not so much that they're slippery and can slip out of tackles. They power through tackles, and it's not just them. They're getting huge blocks from all these other guys like Ayuk and Ray McCloud. Sprung Christian McCaffrey's 65-yard touchdown run in Week 1 because they threw these just devastating blocks downfield. You have Trent Williams at left tackle that goes to the next level repeatedly, and Aaron Banks is a left guard. He's in his second full year as a starter next to him. The Niners are smart enough where they're just running behind those guys, and they don't necessarily need to be slippery and elusive because all of a sudden there's 5 yards to run, and then it's find the little hole, and then there you go.
I guess I was caught up with that Deebo Samuel touchdown against the Rams, Cam. So that's why slippery and elusive came to mind. But yes, we have seen them mow over defenders as well.
if you look at that play again, I mean, it's a short pass. It's a backward pass, so it's a lateral. But if you'll see it, George Kittle is out there blocking on the edge, and he takes out one guy, and that goes into another guy and another guy. So all Debo's got to do is sidestep 3 Rams that are already on the turf, and then he cuts back and he does the Debo things. And just when Debo's running like this, I mean, that's what made him an All-Pro a couple of years ago, and made him such a multi-dimensional threat. He has that hunger, and he's in shape, and so that bodes well for the Niners. Doesn't bode so well for the Giants defenders.
We're talking with Cam Inman, who covers the Niners for the San Jose Mercury News. Speaking of being in shape, let's flip the script to the defensive side of the ball, because Nick Bosa had a contractual holdout. And I know you've been on top of his snap counts. I was seeing how you tweeted that out, and the fact that his numbers skyrocketed, Cam, in terms of what he put forth against the Rams, much different than what we saw against the Steelers. Now with the quick turnaround, what do you think the approach is in terms of how hard they'll work him on Thursday?
I think Nick's going to want to be worked all the way to the max, honestly, because, he only had 35 snaps in the opener, and then he almost doubled that last game. The Niners were on the field a lot against the Rams, and Bosa doesn't have a sack yet, but he is impacting the game. The Niners had 2 interceptions last game, and Bosa was kind of getting in there on the rush. I mean, it's obvious. Everybody looks at him. He's drawing double teams, but that's also why they got Javon Hargrave from the Eagles to come up the middle and pressure. And on the other edge is Drake Jackson, who had 3 sacks in the opener. So the Bosa effect, it trickles down, right? But this is prime time, and Nick Bosa is getting paid $2 million a year on this new contract. And that means, okay, this is your time to shine. And I go back to 2019, and his rookie year is probably like a week 4 Monday Night Football game, I think, against the Browns, and he destroyed Baker Mayfield and just had such a ball. I kind of get the sense that Bosa, like, he's not expressing any, got to get back in shape. This is really rough. It was like after the game, he's like, yeah, actually, I feel pretty good. I needed all this. I need more reps. And as that game wore on in LA, he got better. So he's a physical specimen, and he's getting paid like one, obviously. But he is a technician also that knows what to do. So here's the deal with Bosa and Drake Jackson this week and all the Niners defense and all is they got to watch Daniel Jones on the zone reads, because mobile quarterbacks have been an issue with this defense for years. And Nick will get sucked in to go after that pass rush. And if Jones can deke him and get around him, the Niners better have somebody to back Bosa up, because it's the Russell Wilsons, Lamar Jacksons, those guys in the past years, they've just proved elusive. It's not necessarily that they're running quarterbacks. They just can sense when they have an escape hatch.
It's interesting you brought up Daniel Jones's running ability, Cam, because now a new part of the equation is, though, Saquon Barkley's hurt, and he's not going to play. And Matt Breida from being in San Francisco, and they have some other younger backs. How much, though, do you think that changes San Francisco's approach, where you said, hey, in past, they've had problems with these elusive quarterbacks, but now you're removing somebody else who's very dangerous from the backfield?
Yeah, and they know Breida's speed, right? This is going to be the Matt Breida revenge game at Levi's Stadium. I'm not so sure about that. I mean, the Niners have they have all pros at every level of the defense, right? So, yes, they have not seen a mobile quarterback like Daniel Jones necessarily yet after going Matt Stafford and Kenny Pickett. But look at the linebacker core. You got Fred Warner, who's the best linebacker in the league, and Dre Greenlaw is this. Dre Greenlaw is kind of he is a missile, because he just goes after guys full speed. It's kind of, there's a lot of comparisons from past years with like Willis and Bowman, who are the Niners' great linebacker tandem. So they're going to be ball hunting really well. And then you got great safeties back there. Talanoa Hufanga was an All-Pro last year. And then Sean Gibson's the vet. So they're going to be ready for him. And they're good. I mean, it's a short week. You're not going to really be practicing against a dual threat guy like how they kept Trey Lance around to play scout team quarterback. But I think that's going to be drilled into him this week, especially just, knowing what the Giants have to do to replace Saquon.
You brought up Drake Jackson earlier in the conversation, and I look at him, Cam, as an X factor for the Niners. He had that great game against the Steelers with 3 sacks, maybe a little bit quieter against the Rams, but this is a second-round pick from 2022. We talk about Bosa, Hargrave, and we throw in Eric Armstead, but Drake Jackson, to me, becomes more of the overlooked item. If he does live up to expectations, how much more dangerous does that make this Niners defensive front?
And, he doesn't have to do the full-time work, because he's splitting reps with Cleveland Farrell, who was the Raiders' first-round bust. And Cleveland Farrell actually is the one that starts on base downs, and Drake will come in on pass situations. So both of those guys get opportunities, and Farrell looked really good through preseason and camp, and Drake was dealing with a hamstring. So Drake Jackson's breakout, week 1 performance, said, oh, wow, okay, this guy could be for real. I'm not totally convinced yet, but I know that having both of those guys there and knowing the impact that everybody else down the line, it's going to help them look a lot better than they probably really are.
Speaking of some of the changes on the defensive side of the ball, it seems as if nickelback Isaiah Oliver has jumped off the page, who they brought over from the Atlanta Falcons. He had an interception on Sunday. And clearly, when you have the benefit of all those weapons up front, it makes the job of the secondary a little bit easier. But what has jumped out to you about the immediate impact that Oliver has made on the back end?
So during training camp, the Niners coaches kind of called it out and said, yeah, that's an open competition. It was like, wow, they just spent $3 million on this guy in free agency, saying he was the best nickelback in free agency. And he wasn't making enough plays in camp. And so far the season starts, and they put Diamador Lenore, who is going to be one of their outside cornerbacks. They would use him at nickel and then shift him back outside on base looks, and which was fine. Lenore is an aggressive guy. He's got great instincts. He had an interception against the Rams. But then Oliver really showed up against the Rams. Right place, right time on the interception, because it went right through the hands of the running back right into Isaiah Oliver. So I'm kind of like, all right. But what he also did, he made 2 really good tackles, one short of the sticks and another one on 4th down. And that's what they needed to see out of him. They needed to see some physicality out of a nickelback to come up and play, especially if you're lining up in the slot and there's a run coming at you. So I think he won over that. From the Niners secondary perspective, when they had, without using him at nickel, they would have Ambry Thomas on the outside and Lenore on the inside. Tarvarius Ward be on the other cornerback. And quarterbacks wised up really fast and went after Ambry Thomas, who was number 20. And he had a knee issue against the Rams, so he got dinged up a little bit. So he may not be playing. But if I'm Daniel Jones and I see number 20, that's my target, because that worked against the Niners the other 2 games. And then Mooney Ward, Tarvarius Ward, played with the Chiefs. He's the Niners' number 1 guy. He plays tight coverage, but the problem against the Rams was they came out in zone and they gave the Rams so much space underneath. And that's why Puka Nacua was like getting 15 catches, but nothing was going over the top. And then in the second half, they said, all right, enough of this. We got to play man. They played tighter. They got a better pass rush. And that's kind of, they shut down Stafford and made him get some mistakes.
Yeah, they had those 2 key takeaways that helped seal the game. I want to piggyback over your point about the pass rush, because the Giants, as I'm sure you're aware, they've had some mixed results in the first 2 games. It was not pretty against Dallas. It improved against Arizona. But, Cam, my argument is the Cardinals' defense, as you know from being in the division, is very different than what San Francisco has to offer. And you look at the Niners, 5 sacks, 9 quarterback hits against the Steelers. Numbers dropped a little bit against the Rams, a sack and 6 quarterback hits. Did LA do anything in particular that maybe the Giants, you think, will look to duplicate to maybe alleviate some of the pressure that they don't want Daniel Jones to see?
The only way they can duplicate it is if they clone Matthew Stafford, because the veteran savvy and the quick throws, it was all him. It's his knowledge. That's why the Niners tried to trade for him a few years ago, right before the Rams got him. The Niners committed a lot of money to their defensive front, because in 2019 when they went to the Super Bowl, that was the engine of it. And so last year, even though Bosa won Player of the Year, not many sacks the rest of the line. And so that's why they went out and spent a lot of money on Hargrave. They brought in Farrell to be with Drake Jackson, and then they're blitzing a little bit more. They have a new defensive coordinator in Steve Wilks, formerly of the Carolina Panthers, right? And so I think he's feeling out what's best for this defense. And it could be a really good front, and I would expect them to do so as long as if Daniel Jones holds that ball more than 3 seconds, the Niners are going to be all over him.
I want to piggyback over your point about the defensive coordinator, because, we forget DeMeco Ryans has been a staple on the Niners staff. He gets the Houston job, and more often than not, I think new defensive coordinators can come in and they don't want to mess up what works so effectively, but at the same time, you can't blame them if they want to put their own stamp right on that side of the ball. How has Steve Wilks, in your mind, walked that fine line where, hey, it wasn't broken, so I really don't have much to fix, but at the same time, we're going to do things a little bit differently than DeMeco Ryans did?
I think the job description was, we don't want you to do anything differently than DeMeco. We don't want you to do anything different than Robert Saleh, because, the Niners defense was continued to ascend under both of those guys. What is different is that Steve Wilks calls the game from upstairs, and he's up in the coach's booth getting hot dogs in the press box lounge with us. Downstairs, You have a lot of trusted assistants. But not just that, you have these veteran guys on defense now that know what to do to kind of rally everybody. So it's not like, D'Amico would, gosh, there was one game about a year ago in Atlanta where they were struggling. Most of their starters were injured and not even suited up. And so D'Amico had to huddle everybody up. Wilkes can't do that. Obviously, he's upstairs. But you have Fred Warner, who's the hype man of the whole team. And Fred can kind of take control. And Wilkes, we were expecting him to blitz maybe a little bit more. He's mixed up a couple different looks of blitzes that help. I mean, Fred Warner got the only sack last game on Stafford because he came up the middle. Very timely one, I think, on third down to get him going. And then a couple defensive back blitzes too. So I think that's a little extra element. But at the same time, they're not paying all those guys up front that they need help from blitzers. They need to get those with the front four.
We're talking with Cam Inman, who covers the Niners for the San Jose Mercury News. Cam, before I let you go, we got to talk about the kicking situation. It wouldn't be complete, this conversation, considering the Niners are now turning to a rookie. And Jake Moody, the third-round pick out of Michigan, so far so good. Perfect on field goals, perfect on extra points. I'm not saying you're a kicking expert, but from your optics, from your lens, how has he held up and how has he handled some of these key moments?
It's really, I don't think I've ever written this much about kickers. It's fascinating because, here's the deal. So he gets drafted in the third round out of Michigan. And the last time the 49ers won a Super Bowl was the 1994 season. And they did so with a rookie kicker who was also a third round pick. So you go, look at that symmetry. Maybe this pays off. And Moody's banging these kicks all through training camp and looking the part. And then about going into the preseason finale, he has a leg issue and he's got a right quadricep strain. We're like, well, that's not good. The kid's already got dead leg before the season started. So they shut him down for about a week and a half, brought in an extra guy to see how that would work. But then he goes to Pittsburgh, which is not the easiest place to kick. He makes all three of his field goals, makes all of his extra points. Then he goes down to LA. He makes all three of his field goals, all of his extra points. He's the NFL's second leading scorer. But along the way, Shanahan entrusted him to try a 57-yard field goal against the Rams, and he nailed it. And you could just see how proud and relieved Shanahan was. Like, yes, this is the guy that we drafted and spent a third-round pick on instead of drafting a running back that we'll never use because we got to use it. Anyhow, that's another story. But they love Jake Moody. And but guess what? Now you're going into Levi Stadium. This is going to be the winds are always a little tricky there because there's two open ends of the stadium, and it kind of creates a swirling effect. So that's what Robbie Gould was so great at. Was he knew exactly how to place the ball and let the wind take it in through the uprights. Moody last kick there. It was, I think, their second preseason game, and he kicked a walk-off winner. But it didn't go through right down the middle. It's snaked through, and everyone's like, So we'll see how it goes. But I think the kid has handled pressure really well. But he's got a long season ahead of him.
He does indeed. Well, it's just another element in play as the Giants and the Niners collide on Thursday Night Football. He's Cam Inman, who covers the team for the San Jose Mercury News. Cam, can't thank you enough. Greatly appreciate the time and the insight. Enjoy Thursday Night Football, and I look forward to talking down the road.
All right. Likewise. Thanks so much.
You got it. My pleasure.
You love turf. You're good at it. So you start a turf biz. Business grows, your savings grow. Become the most celebrated name in turf. Are you ready for all that life brings?
We thank Lance and Cam. Giants fans love a winner. It's why they love Citizens, named a 2022 Best Bank in the U.S. by The Banker as the official bank of the Giants and sponsor of the Huddle. Citizens is made ready for big fans of Big Blue. Learn more at citizensbank.com. And now we go to the voice of the Giants, Bob Papa. He's with the head coach of the Giants, Brian Daboll.
The Giants with a big win on Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals, staying out here in Arizona in preparation for Thursday night. As always, joined by two-time Super Bowl champion Carl Banks and the head coach of the New York Giants, Brian Daboll. Wild one yesterday against Arizona. What was the message to your team at halftime, down 20-0?
Yeah, not the way we wanted to start for the second week in a row. So it's time to man up and play better and coach better, not make excuses, focus on the things that we can control, and go out there. We were getting the ball in the first series and try to put one in and, not let the game get away from us to, stay two-dimensional, both run and pass on offense. And then, when they drove down and scored and hit the two-point conversion, make 28-7, it was the next play. They did a good job. They answered the bell, and then we started getting a few stops on defense, and executed well that second half.
Coach, you've been around sports and the mental makeup of football players and coaches for a very long time. And I said this was a character win because human nature sometimes will make you doubt whether or not you can get back to where you were. And you spoke in your post game about the resiliency of your coaches and your players. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. When you're building a team, you want to bring in the right kind of people first and foremost that have talent. And I just think that selflessness promotes mental toughness, and selfishness promotes a mentally weak team. And it's tough, when you're down, what we were down, and you don't look too far, behind you, but you have that first game that you have, and you got to be able to really be able to focus and lock in, and then go out there and play. And then, when you start getting some results, usually that promotes a little bit more, but it's when you're not getting the results, when things aren't perfect for you, whether you're not playing as much as you want to play or you have a bad play, it's easy to kind of put your head down and, sometimes feel sorry for yourself. And that's, we're not going to do that. We don't make excuses. We got to play better. We got to coach better. We had a good half of football, but a lot of work that needs to be done.
Coach, when you look at the math, and I said this to Carl during the broadcast, once you got it to 28-14, you're like, wait a second, there's a whole fourth quarter and there's 4 minutes left of the third. Was that sort of the feeling on the sideline, like there's a lot of game to be played here, let's play this out?
No question. Odds are when you get a lead like that in the first half, the other team's going to win, but to keep straining and fighting and really executing, and you always preach, let's not worry about the scoreboard or the situation. Let's just focus on the next play. And, you punch it in a couple times and you get the ball back and you get a little bit of momentum. It really comes down to execution, doing the fundamentals and the basics right, and then all 11 people being on the same page. And I'd say, for the play callers, they got to be able to stay in the moment too. And, it's not, the game's not away from you, and stay true to kind of what you do well. And go out there and execute. And, I thought collectively, the coaching staff and players, that's, the complementary football that we need to play.
You talk about your coaching staff, and it's a game of adjustments.
Sure.
So what you guys gave Arizona in the second half may have looked the same, but the plays were different. You were able to get some vertical balls
Sure.
down the field, and which obviously opened up the box a little bit for the run game, but the mission stayed the same, but just the adjustments and being able to use some of those things, right?
Sure, yeah, and again, Carl, you talk about those throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
The first couple series, you let the guy see how the game's going, see how teams are playing, and then you start talking about a sideline right away. And again, it ultimately comes down to the execution of the play. But there's definitely certain things that we talked about in all three phases to, put a little wrinkle here, or give them a different look there, and maybe attack a little bit more vertically and on offense. But again, at the end of the day, a couple big third down stops, get the ball back, drive down, execute. That's what you want it to look like.
Just late in the game, they get called for a couple false starts. The Giants fans, and there were a lot of them in the building.
Unbelievable.
Certainly, it was like a home game at that point.
Unbelievable. You could see the sea of blue there. You could feel them. You could feel them, at the end of the game, like you said, where there was some false starts, and it was loud there. We appreciate their support so much, and after the game, there's thousands of people waiting after the game when you're walking out to the buses, and much respect to our fan base.
The Giants and San Francisco on a short week. Coach, obviously this is a team that's had a lot of success the last couple of years, and they're off to a 2-0 start. What kind of challenges do they present to you defensively with the amount of weapons that they have on all three levels?
Yeah, I'd say just the entire team. I think John Lynch and Coach Shanahan have done a fabulous job of instilling their fingerprint on this organization. Coach Shanahan's been successful for a long time as a coordinator and as a head coach, does a tremendous job with his football team. There's no secret why they win. They have really good players. They have really good coaches. They have players, like you said, on all three levels, really, of defense and the offense, from the back to the receivers, to the tight end, to the line, to the defensive line, to the middle linebacker, to the secondary. This is a complete team, and there's a reason why they've won for so many games over the past few years.
Coming off of a short week in preparation, Obviously, it's more about the mental aspect and making sure that everyone knows their responsibilities for a game like this.
No question. And, we do work as most teams, I would suspect, in the off season, knowing you have a short week, during training camp on down days where you can get a head start on this Thursday night game. But it is a short week. There's not a lot of sleep for the coaches. The players, like you said, it's really mental. You got to get them fresh as you can to play in a short week, and everybody plays them. So, our focus is on the meetings, really dialing in, and then, the walkthrough / jog throughs. You got to treat them like practice, mentally, because you're not getting as much physical work. But tremendous challenge to prepare for a Thursday night game, and particularly against this football team.
I know stopping the run is always very important. Obviously, McCaffrey's had 2 100-yard games. They use Debo in the run game. What makes their run game so challenging?
Well, 2 things. 1, they have really good players, and 2, they have a really good coach. And he's fantastic, really, in the run game and in the pass game. He sets things up that look the same. The players execute well. They have all pro players. Seems like at every position on that football team. So, we're going to have to do a good job of trying to stop that run. Easier said than done. So it's what we're working at.
Do you treat Kittle almost like a receiver?
He's a tight end. He's a complete tight end there is. Tough, can run routes, has great run after catch, can run short routes, intermediate routes, vertical routes. He's a fun guy to watch when you're not getting ready to play. Yeah.
The following weeks will be fun to watch.
Yeah, he's something else.
Coach, we appreciate a couple minutes.
Guys.
Best of luck.
We thank Bob Papa and Brian Daboll. We thank Jalin Hyatt. We thank Cam Inman and Lance Medow as well. As we get ready for the Giants and 49ers, really good stuff throughout the show from all of those gentlemen. Thanks for being with us in the Giants Huddle podcast. Don't forget, you will find another great preview of this game on the Giants Hangout. Jonathan Casillas, Brandon Lundell, Madeline Burke kind of talk about the game in our brand new podcast. So go check it out on your favorite podcast platform. Search for Giants Hangout or go to the Giants app or giants.com/podcast to check out all of our podcast offerings. For the guys, I am John Schmeelk. We'll see you next time on the Giants Huddle podcast.